Just been discussing what the plans are for the weekend. In terms of the St Patrick's Day parade, you must have done sort of Grand Master, Grand Marshal, parade leader at some point down the track, did you?
I did it in Tipperary Town.
Did you, yeah?
About 5 or 6 years.
Did they give you an old shtick with you, or what was the...
no, I just sat into the back of a convertible Beetle.
Bit of this sort of action as you went along.
It was embarrassing, to be honest. I was kind of trying to, oh no, what have I let myself in for? It was nice. The parade is lovely there, and I love seeing everyone make the effort for it. But I didn't want to be Grand Marshal. But there's actually a very up and coming, outstanding Tipperary man playing for the Ireland under-20s tonight at full back, and he's the Grand Marshal on Sunday, Jake Flannery.
Right.
So he's been brilliant and the under-20s, of course, they're going for that Grand Slam tonight. So he's the next Tipperary superstar.
When did you do it?
I was...
Were you still playing, like?
I did it one time when I was playing, and a couple of years ago when I was retired,
right.
Yeah. And so it's...
Not too many have done it twice, I'd say.
No.
It must have been sort of somebody late withdrawal, is it?
Stuck, yeah. Late call-up.
Right. Wales-Ireland this weekend. We've been talking to Ronan O'Gara about it a little bit earlier on, and talking about Sean O'Brien. I was sort of putting it to him if it was a bit of a make-or-break moment for him. He didn't really feel it's quite that, but at the same time it is a pivotal moment, isn't it, in the career, in the context of where he's going next season?
I think so. I think he's so popular, everybody'd love to see him. He's an incredibly hard, resilient fella, you know. I played against him towards the end of my career, and I was kind of shocked at how, not shocked, but a little bit taken aback at the start of how tough this guy is. Like, he's the type of fella you want in your corner that's not really daunted by what's ahead, you know. He's a real kind of a warrior spirit.
Is he a different player now than he was? Like, he won the European Player of the Year in 2011, and he had a style of a game about him, but he's been disrupted significantly, obviously, over the last few years. Like, what sort of a player is he now?
Well, it's hard to put an exact gauge in that because of all the injuries in the last number of years.
Yeah.
I thought he was back to his best in 2017 on the lines. He was superb. His moments in the game, his physicality. Any back row, they've got to cover ground around the field and look sharp and look menacing, if you like, even without the ball. And you kind of see that energy and that their involvements, their tackles, their presence in general. And Shawnee always had a big presence on the field, and he was always someone that the opposition were very, very wary of, with the ball in hand and without the ball, because he was such a threat at the breakdown as well. And he's the type of fellow who just keep turning up time and time again. So what we've seen from him since he's come back this time is maybe not looking as sharp and as imposing, but sometimes in sport and in life you look for characters, and you look down into someone's kind of soul and say, well, the character doesn't change, the legs may change a little bit, and is there a performance in them? Can they come out fighting? And I just think he's the type of fella who'll say, okay, there's been a lot of people question me, and that's just the nature of high performance sport, that, you know, there's so many other guys, and if you underperform at any stage, you'll be under pressure. And I just think I just sense that there's something good is going to happen out of this for Sean O'Brien. I hope I'm right, because for obvious reasons I like him. I think he's a great player. It doesn't necessarily mean just because you have sentiment involved and you think, oh God, he's a great player, that he's going to perform. 2 years ago we were bullied in the back row. Stander, O'Mahony, Sean O'Brien, all these guys were stopped at source. Wales have tried to do the same. I just love to see Sean O'Brien smashing a couple of fellas in the game and getting himself that kind of feel-good factor back within himself. Obviously he's got a track around the field, and there's going to be a lot of work. This game is going to be very high intensity. Wales are very, very fit, and Warren Gatland has no problem continuously saying how fit they are. And I think that's a psychological thing as well. He's not alone telling the world, but he's telling his players, this is what I believe, this is the training you've done. And so Ireland are going to have to, we're a fit side as well, and we've shown that. So that's the one question mark, can he keep up with the tempo and the pace? But you put someone down that kind of, you go into the trenches, and Sean O'Brien is a fella you'd bring with you. So
you said we were bullied a couple of years ago. How do Wales try and do that again, and how do Ireland try and counteract that?
Well, they smash Ireland, and we were passive a little bit, and a little bit naive with some of our carries, where they were kind of one-out runners, and we just need to vary that. You hear top-level sportsmen talking a lot about the emotional kind of high that you need to get. There is absolutely no trigger or switch to be pressed tomorrow for either side. So the emotion is going to be through the roof. I think Ireland need to get their emotion above Wales a little bit, which is going to be difficult when you're away from home and given what they're going for. They just need to make a pact amongst themselves that it's not going to happen. Sometimes a bit of old school, we're not going to be intimidated and bullied and physically out-muscled. So it means just kind of going in with at 110% every single time. So it happened probably 2000, and not so much in 15, because I think Ireland would look at that and their inaccuracies and a bit of frustration. But when your halfbacks are getting knocked around the place like they were 2 years ago, Sexton and Murray, that doesn't mean that they're not going to go hard at them again. They will. But I think Ireland need to set the tone, and I think the Ireland forwards need to lay down a marker early on and just not be intimidated. And
did you ever have those conversations with your teammates about laying down that marker early and again?
Absolutely. Like a game like this, I just love to be in the dressing room and listen to what's being said, because that's the stuff that kind of I miss the most. That looking around the dressing room, feeling that we're going to battle here and we're not going to take a bloody step backwards. And you hear guys inspiring and talking and literally being up for the fight. Now the Welsh dressing room will be the same. What they're intrigued, what they're going to be saying is, these Ireland so-and-sos are coming to try and knock us off our perch and take away our Grand Slam, and we're going to do X, Y and Z, and we got to front up and we got to be physical and we got to knock them backwards. Loads of bad language is in that as well. So both sides are going to be up for it, but I genuinely would love to be involved. These are the kind of games that you'd miss the most as a sports person, because it's kind of backs to the wall scenario. And
given what's on the line, Quinny, does it change the dynamic of the game in some ways? Like if they'd met in round 3, is tomorrow, given everything that's on the line, given it's the end of the Six Nations, given the context of the World Cup and all that stuff, is there a freedom that comes with it being the end of the line in terms of Six Nations and everything been on the line?
A little bit, yeah, because we've seen in the history of the Six Nations, we've seen a lot of drama in it at the final day. So Wales will, people have said a lot that they're very defensive, and they are, and Sean Edwards, incredible character and someone who's incredible success in rugby union, he will, that's obviously a big strength, but that doesn't mean that Wales are not a good side with the ball as well. There's some very, very dangerous players, and if George North gets the ball, Josh Adams, Liam Williams has been superb throughout the Six Nations. So they have a brilliant back three, Davies and Hadley Parks as well. I think Anscombe, in turn, we can put a bit of pressure on him. Bigger has come off the bench really well for Wales throughout the Six Nations. And their back row is really good. Moriarty's works incredibly hard. So
one last point on that back row. So the ultimate question here is, would you swap any of their players into our back row?
Well, I didn't answer the first part of the question, but it being different, I think both sides there's no second chances here. You have to throw caution to the wind. You're not trying to manage your way through a game here. Ireland have got to go for it in a sense, so that creates a little bit of freedom. Wales, if they sit back and try and contain Ireland, it could be dangerous. They've got to play as well. That's why the last day is exciting. The back row, I think Tipuric is someone who I'm a massive fan of, and he's just so fit and covers so much ground that he would come into an Ireland back row.
You'd swap him in for O'Brien?
Now,
if you were picking
given where Sean O'Brien is coming from, so he's on the back foot, so he's got to kind of prove and take on Tipuric. He got picked ahead of him 2 years ago for the Lions, but it's different times now. I wouldn't swap Mahoney or Stander at the moment, because I think, and Navidi's been very, very impressive, to be fair. He's an open side, plays with Cardiff Blues. He's been brilliant for him. And Ross Moriarty is one of those players, again, he's that Sean O'Brien character. He's as tough as nails. He's someone that, is not afraid to make the hard yards, incredibly hard working, and he's tough as well. So, but I think Stander is probably, for me, when he's on song, he's the best number 8 in the Six Nations, and that that's a tall, big statement given Billy Vunipola's quality. I just think his overall involvements are continuously high, time after time after time. But we're splitting hairs with some of these, you know what I mean? I take the Welsh guys are tough, and they're very good back row as well.
Neil Tracy did his Type 5 this week that I'm sure some of our viewers have seen up on offtheball.com. One of the things that kind of stood out to me was it stood out because it was something that I heard before.
We have to risk a backlash there, because I remember Mike Tyndall was a question we asked him, was it about how many English players would get into
to be fair, he went through the team and he said every Irish player.
We'll hear this next week now. Quinlan said O'Brien or Stander and O'Mahony.
Oh no, I think you've been complimentary. You should have been complimentary.
I'm very complimentary, because they're rightly
You're not thinking about that when you're in chatting to us. Go out of that. You're not. Neil was talking about the cuteness, the sort of cleverness, the things that we'd be critical of other teams maybe about in some ways. You spoke about the Rory Best try last week where there was kind of a peel off the back and there was a decoy carrier. I think Stander was the decoy carrier and was pretending that he was going to take the ball, and ultimately there was a bit of drama going on that deceived the French defence in so much as you could call them that, and Best sort of snuck the ball in and took it around. Is this something that a lot of other teams are at, or are we smarter, cleverer, a bit of the old cuteness about us in a way that maybe some other international teams aren't?
I think if you look at Joe Schmidt's coaching and his teams that he's coached over the years, Claremont, Leinster, Ireland, all those teams have come up with kind of new plays or new moves that we kind of haven't seen. So he's continuously always trying to find ways of breaking down the opposition of first or second phase, and if it works, brilliant. The criticism has probably been sometimes that we're maybe we're a little bit structured at times when the game opens up, and that players, sometimes if someone makes a line break, that there's someone not on his shoulder because they maybe the anticipation isn't as good. And that's not Joe's fault. Essentially, it's probably the player mentality as well, and their anticipation needs to be better at times. And there's very few. It's hard to criticise, given what happened in 2018. Any way we played in 2018, I think we were shocked a little bit this year. Very small margins around accuracy, and it came from a lot of pressure, the poor performances. But I think his innovation around his attack and those kind of strike moves has been ahead of everybody else. I think obviously we used to all, as players, we used to always look at New Zealand, what they're trying to attack, and you want to try, and if you have a good line out, Adrian, you want to try and test the offence with some bit of sometimes just truck it up with your 12, giving you.
And we're good at that too, aren't we? I mean,
but a lot of the times we seem to we can find some bit of a move. Now it doesn't always come off, but he's probably profited from that, and Ireland have most from any teams that I've seen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's any more development on that front this week, given the one of those moves, and you score a try, a 7-pointer is a massive score in a very tight game like this. But we'll see. Wales they defend very well, but there is opportunities. I think sometimes because they're so flat and they get off the line so quickly, that there maybe is a little bit of space in behind. I think Ireland have to be patient tomorrow, because if we overplay in our own half, Wales will love that. They'll want to force mistakes. But I wouldn't suggest Ireland should change and just start kicking the leather off the ball, but just at times they've got to be a little bit practical and pragmatic and play in the opposition half. And if Ireland could turn the sort of pressure that has helped Wales throughout this championship back on them, well then, they can be the ones asking the questions. But Wales are quite good at forcing mistakes and errors, and they did that against Wales, where they kind of withstood a lot of pressure given, particularly in that first half. If you look at that English-Wales game, you think England are going to win this comfortably. They're not comfortably, but they're a winning team here in the first half, and Wales they withstood all this pressure and then just wore them down, with their fitness. Just on Schmidt, one last point on him. It's obviously the last time the Gatlin and Schmidt are going to coach their respective teams in their current guises for the Six Nations. Which, if you had a team going into the World Cup final, which one of those would you rather have as head coach?
Well, they've both achieved phenomenal things in their coaching tenures. Gatlin's going for a third Grand Slam. He's coached a number of Lions tours, 3 Lions tours. Won a series in Australia. You know, halved the series in New Zealand. He's achieved a lot, to be fair, but Warren Gatlin was coach when I was with Ireland for a while, and that was a very long time ago for sure. And I think one thing about Warren Gatlin is he finds a way, and he's very he's definitely not as hands-on as Joe. He probably is a little bit more with the forwards and scrum and maul and stuff like that. He gets involved in that stuff, but he's more of an observer, and he kind of likes to get to psychologically work with the team a lot, and that's probably his biggest strength. And he's good coaches around him, and he's surrounded himself with good coaches, so he finds a way to win matches. On the other hand, Joe's record is phenomenal as well, you know, with Clermont, and then with Leinster and with Ireland. He's won 2 championships and a Grand Slam, so he's won three titles in the last number of years, more recent than Warren Gatlin. So it's hard to separate them. I think which one would I probably settle into a bit more? I think Joe would probably keep me in his Irish squad for probably a week and kick me out the door because of the technical side of it and me adhering to game plans. And Gatty would probably keep me a bit longer maybe. But I think Joe Schmidt, given that's an incredibly difficult question, but I think given I'm Irish and what Joe's done in recent times, beating New Zealand twice, it was 111 years, you know, so Joe has brought Irish rugby to an incredible level and a high standard, and so yeah, I'd have to say Joe Schmidt.
Correct answer, Quinny. Well done.
How many points do I get for that?
Tadhg Byrne, obviously, we want to touch on as well, and it's amazing how much conversation we tend to have about Tadhg Byrne, who doesn't tend to get used a huge amount, obviously, in an Irish context anyway. It's a bit of kind of master stroke meets amazing opportunity, given that some of the other second rows aren't fit, obviously, but what an opportunity for him this weekend.
Yeah, and it might fall into place for him and for Ireland, because he's a brilliant player. He knows these Welsh guys pretty well. Not that that'll have any huge significance. I think he'll bring a huge amount of energy. He'll bring a little bit of X factor where sometimes, and we talk about, you know, the strength of that Welsh defence, that he has an ability to find. He has an ability to find a little pocket and little gaps out of nowhere where he just. Someone is just about to pass and he just picks a line, and he's really good at that. His support play is good, so he'll be needed because the game is going to be frantic. It's going to be all over. There's going to be multi-phase, and he's got to make sure he's good at all that stuff. He's got to make sure that he does the nitty-gritty stuff up front as well. Adam Baird and Alan Wynne-Jones are 2 big lumps of second rows, and he's got to make sure that he's working hard with his tight 5 with the front 3, the front row as well, scrum, line out as well. But I think, you know, it could be a real opportunity for him, and he's someone who could stand out and have a phenomenal impact in this game.
Your final standings can close business tomorrow?
It's kind of on the fence, and my head is saying Wales, because I'm trying to figure out, there's a lot of brilliant players there, and I think it's hard to kind of change that picture and shift that momentum that they have. But another part of me then thinks that this Ireland side, okay, they've got to turn on an 8 or 9 out of 10 performance tomorrow. I think they were probably 7.5 against France, maybe 8, 9 on occasions in the first half, but I mean over the 80 minutes. And I'd love the challenge of it, you know. That doesn't mean that this team are going to go and play well, but I just have a sense that given what happened 2 years ago where they were physically manhandled a little bit, and even at that, we gave away a late try when Robbie Henshaw lost the ball and North kind of goes in under the post. We nearly scored. There was a try where, I think, was it Fergus McFadden at the breakdown where it was disallowed for a bit of blocking. So we could have won that game as well. So there won't be a lot in this, Adrian, but I think head is saying Wales, but my heart is saying Ireland.
So what's the table tomorrow evening? What are you saying? Team number 1 are...
Team number 1, England.
Team number 2...
Ireland.
And team number 3 are Wales, right?
Wales, yeah.
Same as Rog. It's not like...
The Welsh will...
It's likely, I think that's... I mean,
the Welsh
somewhat.
will love this, and they're great at kind of plucking out the headlines and making headlines themselves, but
let them look after
there's
themselves.
very little in it, and you know, it's I just have this feeling, so I'm going with the feeling.
Good.
I'm not going with the head this time because there's not much in there, people would say.
Would you give even Ireland a 5% chance of winning the championship?
No, listen, it's not going to be that perfect finish.
No, it's not.
I think grind out a result in Wales, and
maybe in Murrayfield they could have.
Yeah, in Murrayfield it'd be different, but no, England are too good. Scotland have been dreadful.
The other big news of the week that I'm sure you were delighted about, and we definitely want to get your thoughts about, are the Leinster coaching staff signing up for another couple of years. You were delighted with that, I'm sure.
It's massive for them. I think obviously Andy Farrell was being... there was talks that he'd be trying to get Stuart Lancaster with him.
But it's not clear about the duration of his contract. It's 2 years for Leo Cullen, but we're not sure about Lancaster. It doesn't say. Hasn't been said yet.
Yeah, but I think for either way, getting both of them signed up and having that stability is massive for them.
All right, so
you happy?
Oh, delighted. Sure, it's a perfect scenario. You wouldn't want anything else.
Contract extension for Connacht. your team.
Big news.
Get out of town. Get out of town. Quinny, thanks a million. Enjoy your weekend of rugby. Looking forward to it, I have to say. So we'll keep an eye on all of that right across off the ball over the course of the weekend as well. But in the meantime, we're going to turn our attention to racing, and it's back to Cheltenham we go.